Rolling along here on HQ Spotlight, and the WNBA season is looming, and the draft is just 3 days away. Now, the league invited 15 players, and we saw a lot of hopefuls in the NCAA tournament. The future, of course, looks very bright. And of course, it looks even brighter now because Erica Ayala is joining us here. And now we get to find out who are the names to know in the 2026 WNBA draft. Erica, the national champion, UCLA, making lots of noise. They've got 5 Bruins invited to the draft. I know you're breaking down each of them, but are the Bruins set to try to take over the WNBA?
I mean, it sure looks that way. I think, whenever you come into a pro draft as champions, you're always going to get a little bit of a boost and a bump to your stock. But we know that Lauren Betts, everything starts with Lauren Betts for this UCLA squad. And we actually did a mock drafts for the We Need to Talk podcast, and I could see her going first overall. I know Jack Maloney over at CBSSports.com definitely has her as a top 3 pick. But when you look at what Lauren Betts is able to do, she has a 6'7" height. She moves really well in the paint defensively and offensively. I think she's also been able to stretch her defense to even guard at the perimeter. She's got great footwork, which we've seen on display, not just in the post, but also with some of her dance moves that she got to do, of course, enjoying the national championship celebration. So I do think Lauren Betts is a name that people should absolutely watch. We also saw Gianna Neepkins on there, Kiki Rice. Gabriela Jaquez had a phenomenal tournament and likely could have been most outstanding player if it were not for Lauren Betts. Angela Dugalich is another player I think that is going to take some people by surprise. She has just a great talent, and you saw her take over games at times in that championship run for UCLA. So I do think it's Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice that are more likely to go high, but these other pieces, or I should say, and these other pieces from the UCLA Bruins could be great in a year where we know with free agency to expansion drafts that teams are going to need to fill their rosters with ready to go players. And I do think that some of these UCLA players, can be just that.
And who better to pick, right? A national champion. So having one of those members on your roster would be great. The opposite end of the spectrum is the runner-up of the tournament, South Carolina. But they had 3 players invited to the draft. What do we need to know about Raven Johnson, Taniyah Latson, and Medina Okot?
Sure. Well, I think you get a little bit of everything in that trio, right? Let's start with Raven Johnson, who is someone who Dawn Staley has spoken so highly of, is a lockdown defender. And we saw that especially in the semifinal game. She's going to be a great player that, again, with perhaps a young team or a team that is very offensively sound, get someone that can run the point, can maneuver, can facilitate, and helps you defensively. That's really what I like from Raven Johnson. When you have Latson, you get someone that brings a little bit more offense, can really drive hard to the basket, can shoot, can facilitate, and that's exactly what she did for South Carolina in their tournament run and throughout the season, helping really boost their offensive output this year, which helped them get to another championship game. And then when you look at Okot, just a really great size, a player who, again, has been able to be very disruptive at times, can really be physical. We know the bigs in the WNBA are pretty big, pretty tall, and can stretch the perimeter. So having someone, though, that can be 2 feet in the paint is going to be, I think a really good get here for a team that maybe is losing some bigs in the expansion draft or maybe through free agency and wants to start with a solid player.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an enforcer inside the paint there. Erica, there are so many names to keep an eye out for, like Olivia Miles, the guard out of TCU. What sets her apart this season?
Olivia Miles, I think when you saw what she was able to do at TCU, what stood out to me is she was up for some postseason awards, individual awards, and hearing her coaching staff talk about how she was able to come to a new program, learn the system inside and out to the point where she was able to guide on the court. And that really stood out to me. I think that speaks to a high IQ, a high work ethic, and then still able to hit pretty significant offensive numbers individually and help really get that TCU team moving forward. You can see some of the accolades there, including the triple doubles, which means it's not just scoring, but it's assists, it's rebounding. And I think the WNBA often goes with veteran point guards, but what that means is when you have a big swoop of players that are retiring, then you need a true lead guard that can step up. And I think Olivia Miles can be that for some people. We see projections, including ours at CBSSports.com, have her going to perhaps Minnesota. There were rumors even from last season that the Seattle Storm would have interest in Olivia Miles, given that they're likely to lose Skylar Diggins this season. If she drops, and that's a big if, she drops to 3, I could see Seattle being a good fit as well.
Yeah, losing Skylar Diggins would hurt, but certainly getting a player like her would make things a little bit better. All right, Azzi Fudd, the UConn star, helped them to 4 Final Fours and the national title in 2025. How big of an impact can she make at the next level?
I think this is going to be one of the players that could make a huge impact in her first season. Similarly to point guards, shooting guards. There's a lot of hybrid guards or kind of a stretch 2-3 that we see in the WNBA, but Azzi Fudd is a true pure shooter. We know that she can facilitate. She's got a great strong frame as well, which I think will help on the defensive side. I don't think she'll have to put in the work to necessarily guard, 1 through 3, 1 through 4, but she can definitely support and facilitate that. For our mock draft on We Need to Talk Now, I actually did take her. I had the number 3 pick for Seattle, and I took her there. I do think that Seattle is likely to lose, if not all, most of their veterans, but I liked the idea of Azzi Fudd going to a place where if she couldn't be with veterans in Skylar Diggins, Nneka Ogwumike has already announced that she's going to move on, then to put her with a generational talent and kind of a Swiss Army knife in her own right in Dominique Malunga and start to build up a core in Seattle, I could see that really working.
Yeah, she's definitely someone that you could build around. All right, Awa Fam, the standout that's been playing in Spain. Now, if you're not familiar with her game, what do we need to know about her, Erica?
Wow. I mean, again, the positionless basketball is just like breathing for some of these younger talents. She's played for Team Spain, including in the qualifying tournaments for the FIBA World Cup that will happen in Germany. She has great length. She can do a little bit of everything. And, she's coming young, but with experience, international experience. And I think it's huge. Now, I think there's some upside or growth potential there when it comes to the defensive side of the ball here. But again, she won't be 20 until later this summer, so there's definitely time here. Jack has Awa going number 1 overall to Dallas. Now, this does fit a trend of what we've seen with Dallas liking to take front court players, knowing that it seems like we'll be able to keep Arike Ogunbowale. I didn't think that they necessarily needed someone like Azzi Fudd, knowing that Paige Beckers is there. Although, of course, the enticing thing would be to reunite Paige and Azzi. That being said, I do think it's probably a better move for Dallas to take a post player, and Awa Fam is someone that, yes, could be developed and maybe get some minutes here, but also knowing that we're going to have several more expansion drafts coming down the pike, this might also be someone to have in your system as part of your program, and maybe even just do like a quote unquote draft and stash, have them in the pipeline, get them acclimated to the organization from a distance, and then bring them in depending on how your roster changes with expansion and free agency.
Crazy to think she started her professional career at the age of 15. Again, like you said, she'll be 20 on June 17th, so a lot of room to grow there. And of course, we have to talk about Flau'jae Johnson out of LSU. She's got a national title under her belt and, of course, been well recognized nationally for her shooting guard ability. I hope she comes out with another album. What has you excited about her future?
Oh, I mean, this is a superstar, right? I mean, if you think of Caitlin Clark, but more so probably the Angel Reese type of superstar, even what Cam Brink has been able to do. These are athletes that are coming into the WNBA that are able to transcend, right, through music, through sport, through their endorsements, and she definitely has a knack for the business side of things. I got to draft Flau'jae in our mock draft for We Need to Talk Now at 5 to the Chicago Sky. Now, the Chicago Sky, I think it's fair to say, is in flux, and there are definitely some questions that we have about them not only losing Angel Reese, but it's been a little bit of a trend of them not being able to keep mega superstars around. And Flau'jae comes in with that, won a championship at LSU. You can see Annie Myers Drysdale Award finalist there, and just is going to be a great player on the court and has a lot of swag that she can bring to whatever's happening in the community. But when it boils down to it, the Chicago Sky, I do think, needs some backcourt help. We really don't know what the guard situation is looking like, again, with all of the moving pieces, with free agency, with Angel Reese leaving, with, again, some of the criticism that the organization is getting off of the court. And if Flau'jae is available for Chicago at 5, you take Flau'jae Johnson at 5. I'm expecting her to just really bring an exciting type of game, and I do think that's what the Sky are going to need.
Without a question, you take her, especially after the Angel Reese departure. Erica, thank you so much for the great insight. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, here are some key dates to look for with the WNBA. On Monday, it is the draft. I cannot believe it. And then April 19th, training camps open. And of course, the regular season begins on May 8th. And I'll see you there working some of those games on the sidelines.